Russell Wilson has been traded to the Denver Broncos. Tom Pelissero reports that there is a deal in principle to send 9-time Pro Bowl quarterback Russell Wilson to the Denver Broncos. In exchange for...
All right, back now with you on Total Access with breaking news out of Green Bay. We go straight to Tom Pelissero on the details of what's going on with Devontae Adams, who looks like the Raiders are acquiring him from the Packers. All right.
Hello and welcome to the Wild Wild West podcast on this Wednesday, December the 28th. Captain has imbibed a little too much spiked eggnog, and he will be with us.
The stylist.
I was trying to be at least kind to Captain. He's actually with his stylist.
Yeah.
Insert jokes in the chat, please. We'll have Captain read them later. But he's got his travels ahead where he's going to be going to the Raiders game, and he needed to get spruced up, if you will. I agree.
Good style.
I agree. So anywho, we are going to fast forward past that one. Again, comments down below in the chat. Over to my right or left, depending on which way you are looking at your screen, is Coach Defense of the Lockdown Defense Podcast. How are you?
I'm good, sir. How you doing?
There is really not much you can say to that, really, is there?
And listen, the jokes write themselves. The jokes write themselves. He's with his stylist. Okay. I would have taken the whole, cry me a river, cry in the corner, Derek Carr's no longer starting, excuse, but with stylist, that's
the truth.
Yeah, right. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
This is actually an interesting comment. Captain has only made one request as he is getting,
don't talk about this till he's here.
As he's getting his beard floofed or whatever they're doing there. He has asked that we hold off on the Derek Carr benching. But Mundungus, I really do appreciate it because that was one thing I was going to bring up in the fact that this is almost history repeating itself a little bit for the McDaniels because he did a very similar thing to Jay Cutler when he first came to Denver. So as Broncos fans, we are all too familiar with, this playbook, as it were. So I do want to at least get Captain's take on that. Also, friend of the show, former Raiders kind of panel member of the Wild West podcast, Wi-Fi Willie, has posted a whack of stuff on Derek Carr with some insider information and whatnot. And just in terms of it was certainly looking like this is a setup of some sorts to kind of mask some of the poor play from this season for McDaniels, trying to kind of save his job and whatnot. So anywho, as we move right along.
They couldn't afford to fire him if they wanted to, could they?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I'm sure we've established that.
Well, I think that they are certainly in a tighter spot financially than most other teams because they still are paying down the Gruden contract. So unlike other teams, they're paying down like 2 or 3 coaches' salaries right now.
Yeah.
And the owner has a fair amount of money, but not that much money.
Nice.
I guess whatever makes us feel better, right, Mundungus?
Hey.
Yeah.
So
we can't really poke at the Chiefs or Chargers, so it's got to
it really can. So got to find
process some elimination.
Yeah, we got to find solace in something, right? So, Alex, this is the Alex Givens, or the real Alex Givens, if you'd like to search him on the Twitter of Arrowhead Addict. Alex, how are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing good. Chiefs win. Not firing coaches or sitting QBs. Things are looking good in the kingdom.
Yeah, yes.
And good holiday season. Hope everyone had a good holiday season. So
pull up that B-roll from the preseason predictions and let's talk about it.
Yeah, right.
Well, I think it's important to note.
No thanks, Mad Dog. No thanks. You keep your quarterback with his 12 bathrooms and his 2 offices and 10 parking spaces. You can You can have him. Him and his Bronco and his horse. You can have him. We don't need Wilson at all in LA, buddy.
But he'd have such a flourishing commercial career.
And that's going to do what in regards to playing football? Nothing.
Oh, I know. I didn't say it had anything to do with playing football, but then it would be beneficial for everybody else in the AFC West.
Right. Oh, I'm sorry. 12 touchdowns and 14 bathrooms. My bad.
What do you think was with this Riker's question here, though? What do you think was the bigger roast? Having Patrick Starr commentate your last pick, or the season long roasting that
Nickelodeon's been doing?
I'm not gonna lie. I mean, some of the critiques of Russell have been absolutely justified, right? So,
because he came out in that LeBron stuff. Like when LeBron went to the Heat, he's like, not 5, not 6. I was like, dude, he's done.
Yeah,
step right there. That's when you do it.
Step right in the mud, huh?
Yep.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Well, he was just talking about how many phone books he needed to see over the offensive line.
Nice.
There had to be a little person joke somewhere in there. So I will happily oblige. Especially
just
given
a little
the fact
dude
that
in the big world.
Oh, I agree.
That family in Colorado, so it all is full circle.
Yeah, a spicy Subway sandwich in there, you good.
Yep.
He took that thing down. He lost his Subway sandwich.
And oh man. So
we've had an interesting week in the AFC West. And I think that we would be remiss if the collective panel did not at least start off with what one would argue was the bigger news or biggest news, generally speaking, of this offseason. And that is Broncos head coach Nathaniel Hackett being fired. And the subsequent press conference that came yesterday with Greg Penner, the new owner and CEO of the Denver Broncos, alongside what I read into was certainly a GM whose seat had a flame lit directly under it. And he was like shimmying on it so that, his balls didn't.
That was just a prison yard shiv, is what that was.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So that was straight walking to lunch.
Yeah. And so I do think that a very interesting piece of that, for those of you who are not fans of the Broncos, you're probably not watching press conferences. And that's why you tune into us here on the Wild West podcast. Is one of the comments that was made. Actually, there's 2 big ones for me. Coach, this actually might be of interest to you, given the same storied history of the Chargers having the similar issues. One was our owner apparently, as of like week 6, if I'm not mistaken, per the presser, something in that range, started reaching out to sports medicine doctors and started to dig into the nitty-gritty of our strength and conditioning program and why the Denver Broncos have had so many injuries, and looking to overhaul it as best as they can to try and eliminate what we've gone through this season. And to be fair, the last few seasons. I have to say that is a very savvy businessman style move, in terms of you identify a problem and right out the hop that you have to address it. So why waste any time? It's very business-like. It's very what you'd see in, a large corporate culture or something along those lines. It's a little less common, it seems, within the football side of things, but certainly more common in straight business. Obviously, we've all been part of both small and large businesses, and it's a pretty kind of common approach to that. I want to maybe touch on that first, and then we'll touch on the last part of the last comment in there, which is something that I think we'll agree to agree on, that it's also a pretty big
might
deal.
have little different descriptors for it, but yeah.
Yeah, the whole idea of them, addressing or getting into the strength and conditioning program mid-season is kind of mute to me. I mean, I'm a former player, and knowing how you prepare exactly for a season and trying to correct your strength and conditioning program in mid-season is kind of mute. I don't really get the idea of that. And I think Alex share the same sentiment. We both played in college, and if you're trying to fix the strength and conditioning program in mid-season, it's not going to work. Your workout program, your workout regimen is different mid-season than it is preseason. So
you're staying warm.
Right.
You're stretching. You're doing yoga. That's
right.
about it.
I think you're kind of misinterpreting. I think you're kind of misinterpreting what the approach was. It was, we have so many injuries this season that are so detrimental to the team. It is clear that there's a problem with our approach. Now, I do not believe that the intent of what he was doing was to say, hey, week 9, we're changing everything. That was not even the way that it was presented in the press conference. What they were looking at was to say, what is clear is that this is now second, third year running where what we're doing is clearly not working.
Well, the way I look at it is, how much did he spend to buy the Broncos?
Well, it's a few billion, right? Like
4.2 billion or something.
Yeah.
So he's like,
$4.65 billion.
crap, I spent all this money to buy this team, and look where it's at. Like, I'm doing everything my way. I'm gonna spend whatever to have some doctor tell me I need to do it this way. I mean, you can tweak that kind of stuff, but I mean, sometimes you just get unlucky. Like you just get hurt. Like, you have injuries. I mean, it's just kind of how it goes. Like that's one component that I just feel like doesn't matter how much you prep for it or try to get ahead of the curve. It's like it's just too much of an unpredictable factor.
Yeah, NFL players say all the time, it's not a matter of if you're going to get hurt, it's when.
Yeah, I mean,
so it's just a matter of that's just a matter of fact. So it's not, I get it's highly detrimental, and you are the last in the league as far as injuries are concerned, 32nd as far as overall injuries. But the idea of trying to fix it, your main concern should be trying to fix it in the offseason. So making a big how to do about trying to bring somebody in mid-season, and it's good for press, but it's not going to help anything right now. Like I said, your workout regimen is different than
right. But that's exactly what I was just saying, though, is the presser was worded in such a way where he was looking to bring in the help now, identify the problems now for next season.
Okay.
So again, he's giving himself that extended runway to really, bring in and stretch the right stuff out to get the right things in play. And remember, there's the off season and everything may well be a time where the team wants to make a good number of changes. And I think so many teams almost wait too long to do the types of things that we've seen Penner just recently do. And then they end up getting delayed by a full year because part of the changes may need to actually take place in the off season. You're only a few weeks out from that.
Yeah.
And so I think it's extremely important that that our team and our owners, and frankly, I have to say that as a fan, it is refreshing to see an owner like Penner step in and take what I see as I almost want to say a very Pat Bullen-esque approach to the team, despite coming in with an absolutely obscene bank account behind him to back the team.
Got some rollback prices, baby.
There is no rollback pricing when it comes to some of the things that they're about to do. They are they're going to Harrods over there, and then they're going full out, because it's clear to me that based on his comments, he is well aware of A, the problems, and B, just almost disgusted in the way that he was presenting himself in that presser in terms of where the team is currently at.
Yeah.
So that kind of brings us to the second part, and that was, Penner, from my perspective, quite literally put George Payton on blast when he brought up, we are also reviewing how we write contracts.
I didn't see any of that.
And I literally did a double take at the screen when I heard that said aloud in public at the presser, because that was all but basically saying, so George, why did you sign Russell Wilson to that absolutely bananas contract ahead of the season? And why did we write it the way we did? Because now we're screwed. And so I thought it was really
I saw Patton say whatever coach they want, they want in there to be able to work with Russ or whoever. And then he's like, oh crap, I said that. And he's like, or the backups or anyone.
Yeah. And what's clear is that there have been some rather candid discussions within the front office, and I don't think that is necessarily a bad thing. But I also think that when your owner is calling out contracts needing to be a thing that get overhauled, then as a GM, that is certainly not a good look for you, because that means that he is well aware and has clearly had discussions with you just about just how bad that Russell Wilson contract is for the team, given how he is currently playing.
No, absolutely. Plus, it's kind of like I guess they extended Russ after he bought the team, right?
So they extended Russ like within a week or so after they bought the team.
It was quick.
Yeah.
But the other owner was at the helm when they hired Hackett, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So the ownership group that originally, like the Pat Bolin Trust, was the owners when they hired Hackett.
I still think they hired Hackett with the mindset of we're going to get Aaron Rodgers to come to Denver, and then that didn't happen, and they're like, crap. And then they go get Wilson, and they're like, crap, sell. They're hairs off. That's really because especially when you look at Hackett's like the experience, because he didn't call plays, he just got praise from Aaron Rodgers, and they're like, well, there's our guy. We get him here, we can lure Rodgers away, and it didn't happen. I kind of hope, I'm interested to see who they interview or who they really go after for coach. I don't think it's going to be Sean Payton.
I don't think Sean Payton's a part of that.
If I'm them, dude, I'm getting the Eagles offensive coordinator.
Frank Reich?
No, the guy now.
Okay, yeah.
To tell and
that guy. How fitting is that? How fitting is that? The fact that that Sirianni, we were questioning whether he was going to be a good hire. Now we talking about he's a great hire. Now he's building a coaching tree. Like he's getting other coaching jobs. That's insane.
I think I just think that's probably the guy. Like when you kind of couple with how Richie was talking about this last week with how Russell at least appeared at the start was trying to become a pocket passer. And couldn't do that, and then he started getting more mobile.
Right.
I think that's the kind of guy who's going to bring in a scheme, especially having a Jalen Hurts that you're going to need out there to kind of mold, where you want that offense to go, and have Russ do RPO type stuff, quick screens, like that type of quick passing attack. And it's either someone like that, with an offensive background that I think would fit Russ's game more, or someone who can come in and tell him and his camp that they got an STFU, and either get on board or get off the pot.
Well,
no, I actually agree with that, and that's one of the. I don't know if you've seen Skip and Shannon at all or any of that sort of thing, but they've Shannon really kind of laid into Russell Wilson like yesterday or something like that. It was. I mean, it was.
He just lucked out.
There was zero holding back, and he basically said, "This is nothing personal, but basically the next head coach needs to say, all right, you got 5 spots, you now get 2. Figure out who's going to have what. Fantastic. Oh yeah, all those other guys, yeah, they're gone. You're not allowed to have those like extra tickets and the other things." And then the other thing that Shannon did call out with regards to Russell Wilson, and I don't want to keep on flogging a dead horse, but Shannon,
this stage,
you kind of need to at this point, right? Which is, Shannon basically said, when I say stuff like this is literally take it to the bank. He goes, I know because I have insider info from this, and that is the team, like the Broncos teammates, do not like him.
Bro, I'm telling you, I don't think any of his teammates like him.
No,
he's Bo Callahan, man. No one went to his birthday party. But I mean, really, like you think back, I think it was early. I mean, I think it was like week 3 or 4. Richard Sherman had a podcast. He has podcast.
Yeah, I remember that him
and Marshawn Lynch on it. And they're both talking about how they don't even have his cell phone number. You got to go through his manager. Like, what?
Yeah,
like this dude's 31 years old and acts like he's like God's gift to football. Like, I mean, he doesn't seem like a very likable guy.
Well, and that's the thing that bothers me. That's the thing that bothers me because I'm just like, it's wavering for me. Like, it's on one hand you got this humble, God fearing, all about his Christianity, and then the other hand it's like you got this
Mr. Unlimited.
Like, so I mean, who is he? Like, what is it? Who is this guy? I mean, again,
I'm telling you, I think he's just like he's an overly fake, corny guy. That's like,
wow.
Because I read, I mean, and maybe it was like right in line with, but I read stuff like they go to like events and they're like, no pictures, like no, like what?
Well, wherever he is, the narrative that they're painting for him right now is not good, and is building stronger and stronger to the fact that he's a terrible teammate, terrible person. I'm just like, dude.
Well, even think about like the stuff that Pete Carroll was saying, like like the subtle jabs Pete Carroll's sprinkled throughout the season of just the difficulty of Russ, like the wristbands, and Russ is like, well, I won a lot there, and it's like, well, did you or did a defense? I mean,
oh yeah. Well, I mean, but you also get to look at it. You can take it with a grain of salt too, because you can look at it. That's just straight hatred because he left. You know what I mean? So you don't know exactly what that he was just throwing.
I mean, dude, if I'm Pete Carroll in Seattle, I'm not hating him at all because we got rid of him and we got the 3rd overall pick. Right. We're about to get Will Anderson Jr.
Right, and a better record. So yeah, they're looking rosy right now. They're looking
right. So overall, the Broncos presser was a really interesting one, and I think it really
absolutely.
If you haven't seen it, I mean, we are all fans of the AFC West. We all kind of have insider info on each other's teams because we kind of really do pay attention. I really do recommend, even if you're not a fan of the Broncos, I think that it's a really interesting press conference because I think it really sums up a lot of things that as fans of the NFL, as fans of the AFC West, you'll get a lot of takeaways from that presser. So again, I really, and frankly, you very rarely get owners giving pressers like that mid-season. So it really, I think, gave you some really interesting insight.
It's the thing I like about doing this show now, though, because I follow, connects like you guys and MHRT network and people through that. So now it's, I see a lot more Broncos content or Raiders content or Chargers content. So I'm always kind of like, in the loop.
You're deep in the weeds now, buddy. And look at this mess.
This man's live. Hello.
Oh,
hello.
Gosh.
We rather will look at her. We don't want to look at that ugly mug.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I don't know if you can hear me or not because all I hear is a blow dryer. So apologies there.
Are you getting frosted tips?
But I wanted to make an appearance. Whatever your joke is, haha. I can't hear it. Okay.
To the stylist in the background.
That I caught. Okay.
Frosted tips.
Again, all I hear is, okay, they're good.
Give him a mullet.
Oh, hell no. No, I heard that.
Viking braid.
I heard that.
Corn roll it. Corn roll his beard.
I did want to come in so that I did want to come in to like say a couple different things.
Go ahead. If you can speak over the blow dryer.
We're not trying to do the Derek Carr stuff right now.
No.
Hell no.
Oh, I know. Oh, I got it.
Okay, there you go. I was wondering why I was hearing myself because I had the YouTube on too. Damn it. Okay. Anyway, I wanted to say hello to you, gentlemen. Obviously, I couldn't make it in tonight, but I wanted to show you that I wasn't gaffing you for any particularly bad reasons. I have a wonderful and gorgeous stylist, and there's no way in hell I'm gonna tell her no. So for obvious reasons. And the other thing is, Coach, I wanted to say congratulations on your playoff appearance. You know, being the kind guy that I am. I'm not always an a-hole, so.
Not always.
Well, okay, yeah, you already made the playoffs, you schmuck. So screw you. Okay, I'm not going to congratulate you twice.
Thank you. What do you mean?
Yeah, you know, he's like saying like, yeah, what about me? What about me? I know that's what that was about.
I said thank you.
Oh no, Coach. I wasn't bagging on you. I was bagging on him for the.
That guy.
What about me?
Oh, okay, that guy.
Can we get it? No mullet. This young lady has been doing my hair for what, 8 years?
9.
9 years. 9 years. And
Capt
the
is now
why,
live on YouTube to stylist. There is a current vote to try to get Captain to have a 311 mullet, which is 3 inches on the top, 11 inches of hair in the back.
No.
Yep.
311.
No. First off, this am I like
too, right? So
okay. Miss Celia, like I said, has been my stylist for 9 years, and she keeps me looking good. Okay, so obviously the answer to that would be no. Okay, so but again, I just wanted to come in and again give congratulations to all that were there. I apologize for not being there personally. And by the way, for some reason the what do you call it? The internet here was kicking out that link, so I went to like a hot my phone thingy by myself, and of course it popped right there. So that's why I am here, just to make sure that you know, you guys knew. Well, anything I can talk about before the flyer?
We're just finishing off the AFC West news, which has obviously been rather plentiful this week. What are your thoughts on the benching of Derek Carr? And before you give your thoughts on that directly, obviously the Denver Broncos have experience with McDaniels basically ousting a franchise quarterback in Jay Cutler with the Broncos when he was here. So interested as to your thoughts as to, you know, the fact that we're seeing history repeat itself again.
Well, actually, I agree with the decision to bench Carr for the last two games because it's a $40 million decision. Okay, you got to look at it, and the fact is, God forbid that Carr got injured these last 2 games, then you're on the books for $40 million on a quarterback that you're not quite sure about. Okay, and there's still a possibility that Derek will come back. I mean, obviously that's the likelihood is not quite there, but you also need to have a quarterback that is healthy in order to, if you are going to make some inroads into a trade, you got to have a healthy quarterback. So that's why they benched him. He's not going to be active, and I agree with the decision. Again, if you're not sure about where you're going, then the proper response is to not to screw up your salary cap. I won't name any teams here, but not to screw up your salary cap with a quarterback that is going to be way too much for what. Yeah, there you go, Rich. Thank you for that. For what's going on. So I agree with that decision. The quarterback of the Raiders remains to be seen for the future. I mean, the likelihood the likelihood of us beating the Niners and the Chiefs these last two games with Carr, which was the only way possible to even make that P word, and probably wouldn't have even happened if the Dolphins win, then it's all out anyway. So, like I said, I agree with the benching of Carr. I know Mike Sarah thinks I'm full of crap, but we'll see. And again, any further questions before I get a blow dryer in my hair?
A mullet. I've not seen her cut or do anything.
Oh, cut.
No, she trims. Wait, see.
Okay.
Exhibit A.
Exhibit A here. Get him, Celia. Get him. Did you hear that? Exhibit A. Trim.
Yeah. We
Okay.
heard that.
It is denied. It's not in evidence. Sorry.
Ow. And that's this is the only woman I allow to hurt me like this.
Probably pay extra for it.
I didn't hear that.
8 o'clock.
I think
I'll
she did.
tell you later.
Okay, yeah. Text me what you said later.
So, Captain, what's your safe word?
Banana.
We haven't figured what's our safe word, honey. She just smiled.
Banana.
Oh, and by the way, she is a Raiders fan from Fresno, which is another reason why she is the class of this joint.
We'll hold it against.
Please.
Yeah. We can forgive taste in football teams from from your
Whatever
style.
you do not end the broadcast.
Yes, whatever you do.
So,
His eyes aren't even open.
no. So, Captain, what are your thoughts on your game coming up this weekend against the Niners?
Well, obviously, it's preseason 2023 starts early, and technically, I kind of really thought that overall, this entire year was preseason 2023 early, because it's a matter of McDaniels getting to know which assets he has. Is the phone? Can you see? Okay. McDaniels needing to know what assets he has and what he's going to bring to the team. And, the team has played well at times, but when Derek can't throw a pass to basically to save his life in the second half, I knew we were going to. Well, I told you guys you were going to get screwed every which way in hell, and but the team offensively did not perform after the first drive, basically. So there was no. The officiating was horrendous on that quarterback sneak. So, getting back to point, I think that that there's actually probably going to be at least 60% Niner fans in our house this weekend, and I'm going to be there because it's incumbent upon me to make sure that people know that not all of the nation has just given up on the franchise. And so being the stalwart, and I'm not trying to just do rah to me, but being the stalwart fan that I am, I can't give up on the team. So I'd like to see it somewhat close. And by the way, if I can get over there without either Southwest Airlines screwing up my plans, because I have a backup plan that cost me $1,700 to get out there via Delta, so it costs a lot in order to do things that I do.
Well, I mean, Southwest does have a parrot policy, so you just need to be really careful, about that. You just have to avoid.
Isn't Nathaniel Hackett's the new CEO of Southwest, isn't he?
Wow.
But So, Captain, the other question I had just while you were here, and then we'll let you go and finish up your quaff. But with regards to the game last week, and also looking ahead to this week, you did not give Jacobs the ball nearly the same amount that you have in weeks past, and frankly, he has easily been the best offensive player for the Raiders, given his performance. One, why do you think that is? And do you not think that that would be a pretty large key to success with a quarterback like Stidham, who does best where he has a solid run game?
Well, I mean, I think that they gave up on the run too early. They actually kind of reverted back to the very early part of the season where the run wasn't working, and they gave up on it, and they tried to throw. And I don't know why. Unfortunately, because I'm not in the building, but they gave up on it, and that pissed Jacobs off. Jacobs is gone. Basically saying that, hey, I'm sick and tired of this stuff. I'm cleaning it up for the audience. Mm-hmm. And, there are plenty of people that are hardworking, and I got to move for her Clippers. But there are plenty of people that are hardworking.
Damn, Mike, who hurt you?
I'm sorry?
My smug attitude.
Well, you're talking about the comment in the chat. I'm glad you answered that question, Cap, because I was actually, do you think Jacobs was going to be back based upon his last rant in the media?
Well, like I said, his rant in the media was basically blowing up Carr's performance. So with Carr being a question mark, but he's also going to ask for a bunch of bags, and he's going to warrant a bunch of bags. But I don't think the Raiders are going to give him a bunch of bags, because it's not their way, in as of the New England way, to have a running back worth all that money. I mean, the running back that they had for many years that was probably the most name-worthy was Corey Dillon, and he came over from the Bengals, and Belichick sat him down and said, hey, you will be a part of this team, and we're not going to deal with your crap. And he, laid down for it. But the Patriots normally do a running back by committee. We had 6 running backs on a roster this year, of which we probably only used 3. So I think that unless Jacobs takes somewhat of a discount and wants to stay with the team, depending upon who the quarterback will be, then I think he will probably be gone. That's one of the reasons why they drafted Zamir White. They always looking for the next, the next available person. And I disagree with Mike Sarah. Adams is going to stick around because he doesn't have an out on that contract. He doesn't have an out on that contract. He can bitch, moan, and groan about, Carr not being there, but he's a professional, and depending upon who the quarterback is, he will be there to play his snaps. And if not, then the Raiders will obviously, say, okay, you want to go, then they're gonna trade him for assets. But I firmly believe that Adams will be there, because Adams, with Waller, with Renfro, are the makings of what the offense needs to be. The Raiders need to improve upon defense, and that's just my opinion.
Fair.
No, I think it's fair that Adams is going to be interested to try to get a quarterback that is on the team that can basically make him look better, pad his stats, and assist him in ensuring he's a lock for the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
They say Aaron Rodgers has an out on this contract after this year too.
Yeah, no. I'm telling you who the quarterback is going to be, but it is a quarterback who's wearing number 12, but it's an old bastard that resides here.
Oh. So you think Thomas Edward Patrick Brady II is going to be the next Raiders quarterback?
I think he who shall not be named, because I can't stand his name, but I've actually been saying his name in a couple of my broadcasts. I am pretty sure that with the benching of Carr, and I even went into work today to say, as of it was 2:00 this afternoon on the 28th of December, with the benching of Derek Carr, that Thomas A-hole Brady, Thomas, it was a fumble, Brady will be the next quarterback of your Las Vegas Raiders. It's just the way it is.
How ironic is that? The guy that cost y'all a Super Bowl will be your quarterback. And what if you
No, I think it's even better than that, Coach, is Captain has, for the entire time I have known him, the word hate may not quite be strong enough. for how he
Hate,
feels.
despise, loathe, and abhor.
Yeah, and now think of all of that rolled
He's
in,
on your team,
and then he's got number 12 in silver and black, and he's on the team, and Captain has to sit there on the sideline. Let's go, rawr!
First game broadcast, you got to wear Brady jersey in the corner end zone. That's all we do.
Yeah,
That's all.
gar.
And Captain, it would not be a Vegas game if we didn't have an over/under on how soft the balls are.
Wow.
Well, I there's nothing soft on my balls. I'll let you know that. There's a lot of hardness in the balls in the entire area in and around the balls. So
bluish hue. They got a bluish hue. We're gonna take them down to the farm.
No, it is not blue. It is dark, deep blue up into purple.
Wait a minute.
Okay.
Wait a minute.
I was doing an eastbound.
So about the kids that are watching.
I am. Okay.
But yeah, there is no deflation when it comes to the captain.
Yeah, so that's I found it really funny because I'm not gonna lie, I actually went in that same direction in terms of Brady to the Raiders. As soon as I heard Carr, first off, Brady's basically done with the Bucs because he has he signed a 1 year, right? And so I could absolutely see Brady wanting to return to McDaniels.
Got it. Thank God someone did.
So I could actually see McDaniels and Brady kind of coming back together again. And now wouldn't that be remarkable if Brady was able to pull off? He's never had a receiver like Adams except for maybe Randy Moss.
I was going to say Randy Moss was and that was the year that they went undefeated, aside from the last game that they lost.
And if you're looking for another quarterback that is on par with someone like an Aaron Rodgers, really Brady is one of the very few at the NFL that's still playing that is, right in that same kind of conversation.
Or what if they bench Carr so that they maybe lose these 2 games and move up a few slots to get a shot at?
They're not picking high enough in the draft to get one of the better quarterbacks.
They might.
Well, if you trade up. If you trade up for a quarterback, and actually I think that Levis will be the 3rd one off the board, and of all of the top quarterbacks that are there,
written all over it.
I tell you what, if Levis is still on the board, I would trade up for Levis.
Right, but the thing is McDaniels, I think, understands that his defense needs to be bolstered, and I could see him wanting to trade back to kind of fill out that middle section, like 2nd, 3rd, 4th round, and just go pick heavy and fill out, linebacker.
But again, I honestly think that am I frozen?
You were.
Nope, you're not frozen.
Okay. Hang on.
You were frozen like Father Time.
You're good now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, my hotspot went away. Well, my hot lady is still here, but my hotspot via the Chrome. But I agree with that because again, Brady was 199. You just need to have a cerebral quarterback that can do the system and that is above average. Average to above average in arm strength and or running. Somebody that's going to run that system. If you trade back, I'd much rather get the top defensive lineman in the draft that's available from where we might be picking. And Derek Carr was a 2nd round quarterback and he stayed 9 years for the Raiders. And we actually made a good get on him. So it can be done.
Yeah. So Captain, we're going to delve into our upcoming games and give a little recap. I would rather not recap the Rams Broncos game, but
no, we are.
But we're definitely going to, rub salt in that wound for me.
51 reasons to recap it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Coach. That's wonderful.
With Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
When we I'm not going to push end. Can you guys, so I don't screw up the broadcast? Can you can you
There we go. We're good. He's still talking.
That was a lot to unpack from that.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay, thank you for that. But anyway, y'all take care, and I will be back later. I'm sorry I wasn't there for the next season. There you
Don't
go.
press the red button. Hey, how are you?
Bye.
Hey, good.
Like I said, I'm the one that brings class and babes to the broadcast, so the hell with y'all.
Babes, yes. Class, debatable.
Very debatable.
Just joking. Come on.
Guys, take care. We'll see you next broadcast.
See you, bud. See ya.
All right,
buddy.
take care now.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
So I just
Mike,
want
what
to thank
is up
Capt
with you,
for
man?
joining us.
you are just on one right now.
Who? Mike?
Mike's just he's just in a dark place. Like, come on, buddy.
Mm.
What do we got to do to get you out
Mike?
of this?
Mike,
Did you say
it's
who hurt
okay.
you earlier?
Can I offer you
Yeah.
a beer?
The hurt
Can I
people hurt
offer you
people.
a beer?
Step back from that ledge, my friend.
Jeez, who sang that one? Let's let them do it instead.
Right.
So in terms of games, I mean, I may as well just rip the Band-Aid off. So the Broncos were abysmal, and kind of as we were talking about earlier in the show, one of the major issues with Russell Wilson is the fact that he has A, not played very well, and B, he seems to be too short to throw over an offensive line, or a defensive line for that matter. Like I said, like he might need 14 phone books in order to stand on, in order to get the proper height.
3 picks is tough.
Yeah, so 3 picks, 1 game, and for everybody in Broncos country who is wanting to just absolutely just poop all over Nathaniel Hackett in terms of what he did, I really do implore you to look at the throws that Russ made for those picks. Those were all on Russ. He is supposedly this top-tier quarterback who's supposed to know better, and he scrambled and rather than running 4 yards to get a first down, decided to throw into double coverage, underthrow it, and got himself picked.
That's what we call in today's world dog water.
Yes. 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 Smelly, stinky dog water. I agree. It was brutal.
Residue-filled dog water.
Right.
Grass.
And that's just one of, and again, even the other picks were very similar to that, where he had another pick earlier in the game where he went for the long bomb, got himself picked, and he could have done a short underneath route. And then he had another throw later on in the game where Sutton was wide open on the sideline and he didn't even bother looking to that side of the field. This is exactly the type of thing that I've been saying all season. It's the exact type of thing that I keep on saying. A head coach is not going to fix that.
Yeah.
The quarterback has got to take ownership over his own play and stop the crap. Basically, put up or shut up. And I'm sorry, and this is why I'm somewhat skeptical about the future of the Denver Broncos. I just don't think that Russ has shown that he can fix himself. And one of the reasons why I think
world, man, it's never.
Yeah, like he's kind of
in the quantum sphere.
Yeah, it's almost like that. You know, like there's that dude that was like the really, really popular jock guy in high school who's now like 400 pounds and has like a beer gut and can't see his own, you know what? Looks in the mirror and says, "I still got it."
Yeah,
you know,
the yearbook. He's like, "Well, I won state back in '78."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and
put me in right now, Coach. Just put me in.
Yeah, yeah, and so that's kind of where I think that Russ is right now, and frankly, he hasn't proven me wrong. So this is the problem: is that until you start proving me wrong, I mean, all that's happening right now is you're just basically adding more to the resume to prove that I'm right in my analysis, and I actually want to be wrong. So I want to see something to say that I was incorrect.
I do have a question. I do want to know where Eric Saubert is at on the year.
I have to double check. Yeah, I have to check. He's another one of those guys that I actually think was doing well, and I think that the coaching staff wanted Dulcich. Well, sorry, let me correct this. I think the general manager wanted Dulcich to play a bigger role simply because his Russell Wilson contract was looking like crap. So he wanted to be able to point to a young guy who was looking good at the tight end position to say, no, I drafted well. See, I should still keep my job.
Well, that's true. Dulcich does look pretty good, though.
Oh, no, don't get me wrong. I'm a huge fan of him, but I actually think that Saubert and Dulcich are really good complements to each other.
Yeah, Saubert's got 12 catches for 118 yards.
Yep. But he's got like 2 or 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, one touchdown that cost you a jersey.
Yeah. Still got to deliver, but just one. I wanted to wait till the season happened just so I could see how close. But to put that in perspective, KJ Hamler only has like 40 more receiving yards than Saubert. So, well, he's been hurt though. Never mind.
Oh, so he's been hurt, yeah.
He's been hurt, but this is
Judy though. Judy's kind of been on a positive note, coming around a little bit. So you got that going for you.
He's starting to show the types of things he's starting to show the type of player that he really ought to have been for the entire time.
What they need to do is decide to cut ties with him. He signs with the Chiefs.
There's the play.
Well, in my opinion, if Peyton was smart, and that's an if, they would pick up Judy's 5th-year option after the way he's played.
You definitely
and then trade him.
I mean, you mean like immediately or like at the deadline?
No, I mean trade him immediately in the offseason.
I don't know.
Because, so for example, Tim Patrick is already ahead of schedule. He's going to come back and he's going to be angry. So I'm looking forward to see him playing. Literally for the first 3 games of next year, I will be wearing my number 81 jersey. Like I promise you, from the stuff that I'm seeing from him putting out, he is going to be on fire. And I think Sutton and Patrick together on the field, just because they can both be such reliable big targets on the field, it's going to be pretty awesome to see. And I think that when you look at Jalen Virgil, who I think can really be a pretty spectacular player, and if we're going to be honest, with a little bit more play time, I think he can actually do a lot of things that Judy can, because I think he's got as much or just as good speed. But I think what Judy has is a very polished route tree. Judy's issue before was the fact that he was taking too long to get to the break in his route. And in addition to that, he was kind of getting in his own head. And so he started to kind of take his passion and kind of put it towards his play on the field, which I think is really starting to fuel him a lot better, which I think is a great thing for him. But I think that the Broncos have enough wide receiver talent that's in behind Patrick and Sutton to at least fill out the roster. And I think you can draft someone that can at least, do okay.
All right. I just like all these, just everyone hates McDaniels.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's
I don't blame him though. Like I kind of I just assumed it would go that way. Like, I just never trust a Bill Belichick crony. Like, I mean, Mike Vrabel, I think, is the only one that's panned out. And he's not really a crony. He just played for him. Like, he didn't
playing for him with him. Playing for him and coaching him.
I mean, I think Bill Belichick has a lot more control over everything than it's publicly led on to believe.
Well, it's worse than that, though. He has a lot more control over everything, but then he also doesn't pass on his knowledge to his subordinates.
Yeah, no, He's very much like a bitter old dude that's like, I don't want anyone to do better than me ever. So you can be a part of my success, but you're not going to get your own.
Right. And Kamani, I think that's an interesting one. The challenge I have with KJ Hamler is when he's been healthy, he's certainly looked like one of the best receivers on the Broncos. And I kind of agree with
the speed, man.
Oh yeah, he's wicked fast. Like he is really that good. But
98 speed, man. I use them all the time.
But the problem is that he's just never healthy. He can't stay healthy, and he's never been able to stay healthy. And it goes all the way back into college. And I think that's just unfortunate because he certainly is one of those prime examples of he has the athleticism and the talent, but his body just simply is betraying him and cannot stay healthy in a contact sport.
Judy's been kind of like that too, though. I mean, to some degree, right? Hasn't he been a little injury prone, or am I thinking of maybe that's
what,
Sutton?
Judy?
Yeah, maybe I'm thinking of Sutton.
Judy's missed a couple games every year with like an ankle problem, and he's had those issues dating all the way back to college too. And so I think that's also somewhat of a fair comment to make. But I do think overall, when you look at health,
you got to give the edge.
I mean, Judy has been able to play more than Hamler has, and it's just kind of an unfortunate truth.
This is this is an interesting one. I just kind of want to broach, even though we're well outside the realm of the AFC West here. But I figured it'd be good since we're technically on the topic of your 51-14 loss. We'll get off of that. So Lafayette here says Carr is going to go to the Colts. Do you guys think I think the Colts are kind of done with the let's pick up someone else's veteran QB and see what happens.
I mean, their success has been their quarterback has been through the draft. I mean, they drafted Manning, they drafted Luck. Those have been their success stories. Every quarterback they picked up off the street, not to say.
But I don't know where the Colts are picking because don't they? I mean, I feel like they've given up every first round pick for someone else.
No, they didn't. They gave up.
Never mind. They're picking fifth. Yeah,
right. They got a top pick. Yeah, they're
slotted for Levis right now.
Yeah. So Lafayette, I actually think what we're going to see here is the Colts are going to do exactly what I have to agree with the other two guys on the panel.
Jets or Seahawks.
I actually think that Carr could land. I actually agree with the Seahawks. I think Carr could land
Niners.
I think he could land Niners. I think he could land.
I think Niners are done with Trey Lance. So
I think I also think that he could land with maybe. I was going to say the Commanders is another option for Carr. Who he could land with, which is another option. And then the other thing is that Carr may actually be a little salty with the Raiders, and I would not put it past the Denver Broncos ownership to go after Carr to have that legitimate starting guy who can actually be a starter in the NFL as a means of pushing Russell Wilson and eventually probably push him out the door.
No,
I think so.
Man, he is not going to go there to be in a competition.
No.
Man, he threw 5,000 yards last year. Someone is going to give him a shot out of the Commanders.
Let's talk money here. It's $100 million in dead cap money between now and 2024 that they have to eat in order to get off the Wilson contract before then. They're not doing it. They're not doing it.
I mean, that's why they fired Hackett right now, so they could say that's your problem.
Exactly.
There's your problem is that guy. Don't look at Russ and what we paid him. Look over here.
Look at him.
So
but what you're missing ultimately is the fact that when you hear the presser that we just had.
I hear that, but
if Wilson is not fixable as they're trying to claim, right? If he's not fixable like they're trying to claim he is, then ownership needs to put out an alternate quarterback that they can put out there in place of Wilson next season, and they need to show the fans that they actually understand that losing the way the Broncos have is nothing short of unacceptable. And the only way that you can do that is by having a legitimate backup quarterback. And I mean, someone like Jimmy G, someone like even a Carson Wentz would be an option, perhaps at the backup spot like that.
That's better. I mean, Derek Carr is not going to go unless literally he gets blackballed from every other team. No other team is. But I find it hard to believe that out of your Panthers, your Jets, your Commanders. I mean, Panthers. They got Sam Darnold right now, and they could very well make the playoffs. They're going to be out of the mix for your Bryce Youngs, those guys. They're going to give somebody a shot. So I find it hard to believe that there won't be one team to say, hey, Derek Carr, here you go. You're our guy for, the next 2 whatever years. But because is it Derek Carr or the team that can get out of his contract after this year?
The team.
Okay, yeah. I mean, then he's
And
gone.
Lafayette, Mark does not own the team. Mark has been put in place as the decision maker for the Raiders. Mark's mother owns the team. And so the decision to sell the team would have to come through her, and she would effectively have to almost undermine her son to say, Mark, your time is done playing football. It's time to go get another job. And
go get a big boy job, Mark.
Yeah, go get a big boy job and then sell the
Stop
team.
hanging out at PF Chang's.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I only said that because Cap's not here. He shared that knowledge with me.
Oh, he has. So, anyways, that's the Broncos' loss. I'd like to forget it, and we are going to quickly move on.
We're still on it.
Great, and we're now done.
All right.
So, Coach, I just wanted to throw over to you and go over the Chargers' victory. By the way, as much as it pains me to say it aloud, congratulations on making the playoffs.
Thank you. Thank you.
It is. It's look,
Off
Alex. One day your day will come when you will not make the playoffs, and we will.
Yeah, maybe in like 10 years when Mahomes is done.
It is coming sooner than I think you think.
Well, you also said it would happen this year, so
look, I am willing to be wrong 1 year.
No, but you got to give Justin Herbert mad props because he carried the Chargers to the playoffs. So I'm excited for that matchup for years to come, especially when both rosters are fully healthy. So
thank you. It's good to get.
Coach, take it away. Let's
some logical thinking in the chat from this. Yeah, the game. A game was. I would like to see a better effort offensively. I'm going to start there. Just to be plain about it. We would think and we thought that getting healthy on offense would lead to more production offensively, but it didn't. But it just so happens that the moment we get healthy offensively, the defense starts playing well. How about that? And the defense has been, losing player after player week by week. Brick by brick, they've been, losing D linemen, losing linebackers, losing corners. So you would think that, with the shell of the defensive self that they were at the start of the season, they wouldn't be playing as well as they are now. But for somehow, some way, they figured it out to get it right defensively. But it also came with a slowing of the offense. Now, I'm not sure exactly what's going on through Joe Lombardi's head, but or just the lack of the ability.
Dude, he's got to be done. He's got to be
one the back ability to stretch the field more with the weapons he has, but something has got to change because it's almost like, yes, I watch every single Chargers game, multiple times in certain cases, but it's almost like I can predict what he's going to do and what succession he's going to do it, and that's not good. Again, and I'm not the opposing defense coordinator. I'm just a fan looking at the game. So, when you know exactly what, from a fan perspective, what he's doing, the defensive coordinators know. And they know certain things, they clue certain things that they ultimately going to do, and that's going to allow for them to get after you defensively, which is going to stymie the offense, honestly. So, I would say that Lombardi going to have to figure out something as far as doing something more inventive when it comes down to his play calling. When it gets to the latter part of the season and the postseason. Otherwise, it's going to be a short stint in the playoffs. It doesn't matter who we face because, defenses don't get worse in the playoffs, they get better. You can face a Rams defense who's had tons of injuries, no Aaron Donald and a bunch of, second and third tier guys. But when you face the Jaguars who beat us earlier in the year, you got the who potentially could be in the playoffs. You got the Bengals, the Ravens, who all both got solid defenses. The Dolphins, I don't know. It's weird. The Dolphins defense on the road is terrible, but at home it's good. It's weird in that regard too. But at the end, you also got clearly the Chiefs and the Broncos got good defenses. So you have to be one of those guys that has to hopefully have a rabbit in his, pull a rabbit out of his bag and say, hey, this is something we haven't shown yet. So we're gonna do this and kind of catch them off guard. Otherwise, if you come to the same script that you have throughout the season, you come into a playoff game like that, you want to sit home. You're going to send home. I don't care how good defense is playing. I
I
don't
think
care.
that's what's going to happen, though.
Yeah.
And then they're going to fire Lombardi, and then
They're gonna have to.
bring in somebody and light it up next year stat wise.
I hope so. Get some speed at receiver and better offensive coordinator, and I'll be happy. But you know,
I think you need more than speed. I think you need just more receiver.
I mean, if they have a healthy Keenan Allen, a healthy Mike Williams, and they get someone that runs low 4.4, 4.3,
yeah,
and they all three are there all 18 weeks of the season. That's pretty
good.
Pretty tough recipe.
No, but what my point is, Alex, is that what they need is a 3B.
Yeah, and the 3B needs to run a 4.41 or
no. They need a slot guy. They need a quick speed guy, but then they also need a 3B. So, for example, Keenan Allen hasn't been healthy in successive seasons now. Williams has been hurt in successive seasons now. And the thing that has really hurt the Chargers, Coach, I'm not trying to slam your team. I mean, you just made the playoffs.
No, that's honestly not true, but I'm going to let you finish.
In my opinion, what you guys need is a solid 3B receiver, as in a guy to sit behind Allen and Williams and be able to step in when they inevitably get hurt.
Nah, they're going to need someone that's out there now.
Now.
And Lafayette, Quentin Jefferson would be awesome, but he's going to go way too soon for that.
Yeah, that's possible.
I'd like Quentin Jefferson to be on the Chiefs too, but
yeah, you're gonna be that late. Yeah. No. And BC, I don't think Josh Palmer's a B3B, and I say that because I feel like that Josh Palmer is a true boundary or outside receiver, along with Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. Him playing in the slot is not his niche. So I would say that he's just an heir apparent for Keenan or Mike when they either get hurt or inevitably leave the team. I think he's going to be a long-term project for the outside. But I agree with Alex. I think that we should have anybody that plays inside is not an X or a Y receiver. If they're in the slot in any facet, they need to have speed. Because if you look back at it, even guys you don't even realize, who they are, by name. You have to look them up from a stat perspective. But when Jalen Guyton was healthy, we had Tyron Johnson and a few other guys. These guys ran 4.4, 4.3 speed last year, and we're at a top 5 offense because you had the ability.
Guyton,
we had the ability to stretch the field with the slot guys, and you had the ability to throw outside with the X and Y receiver, Keenan and Mike, and they were healthy for the whole season.
That one dude? Who was that guy? Travis Benjamin. That dude.
Oh, that's years ago. Yeah,
but that dude was always torching people like downfield.
Yeah,
he was fast.
The difference was,
that was primo Keenan Allen though. Like that was. That was when Keenan Allen did not get hurt.
Who? Well, Travis Benjamin.
No, G golly is Phillip Rivers. That was his legit catchphrase.
Right.
Rivers was one of my favorite non-Broncos quarterbacks because he always had these one-line zingers in his either in-game comments.
He's trash talking, yeah.
But his trash talking was like, leave it to Beaver.
My favorite is that clip where he throws that screen against the Jaguars. And then it's Ngakoue. He loves fighting. He's like 70 freaking yards.
Right.
Screaming in the side of his face. He's
right.
Hey, 17, you need to do that, bro.
Then he apologized to me after the game. That's how nice of a guy he is. He said, man, I was just in the moment, man. I didn't mean to scream in your face. He told him that, literally. He legit told him that. Overall, I just think that, we definitely need to have more depth at receiver. I said at the beginning of this season. I didn't like our depth going into the season. 1. I said 2, we need to have.
You did, by the way. I think we have receipts for that. You did.
Yes.
Good for you.
Yeah, we didn't have a depth. We picked up more running backs and we don't run the ball. That makes no sense. This makes zero sense. Well, why do we have Sony Michel? I still argue that roster spot is being wasted. But regardless.
Why did you elevate Roundtree and other people from the practice squad to
and you only use 2
running the ball.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
That's probably what happened. They're like, hey, you know what? What if we move this guy up? They're going to think we're going to run the ball, and then we'll just throw slants.
Right, exactly.
We'll just run sticks the whole game.
Yeah, run sticks. Yeah, everybody runs to the sticks and just turn around. Yeah, so that we definitely
guys. I did want to make sure we fit everything in the show overall, just because we've had so much news
on a tear there.
we had so much news this week that it really did take up a good portion of the beginning of the show. But I want to make sure we do get into everything.
Yeah, but that was my two sticking points. The offense needs to be better, but the defense is playing well. So you take your wins where you can get them.
Defense is important as you get into the playoffs.
Anyway. Absolutely.
And so if you can build upon that and keep in that trajectory, I mean, you could start giving some folks fits, especially if you're offensive guys like your Allens, like your Williams, and those guys, which are now starting to get healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
they're coming back into the game.
Allen signed through
2023. I think he's this year and next year he's on the contract. Then I think that's
Williams just signed. So he's got 3 years left.
3 years after, yeah, he has 4-year deal after this offseason, so he has 3 years left on it.
Okay,
very cool. I mean, Alex, your team again pulled out a win, which is starting to get a little repetitive this season, which is what wonderful for you, not so great for us.
You
guys all hate to see it, I know.
No,
especially Mike. Mike.
I'm not going to lie. There's a lot of things that happened for the Chiefs this season that I didn't expect to see. But obviously, as a Chiefs fan, you have to be pretty excited about it.
Oh, my bad, Alex. 2024. Just
okay. Well, I mean, either way, like it's not too long. So I was more so.
So hold on. Does that mean what Williams and Allen end on the same year?
They do. Yep, they do.
Okay. All right. Okay. Yep. Sorry. Go ahead, Alex.
Interesting. No. So we saw KC beat a respectable Seahawks team, I'd say, and respectable in the sense of they were certainly a lot better this year than people would give them credit for. It was a bit of a blizzard game, like cold as hell out there.
Yeah.
I got offered to go, and I was like, no thanks.
No,
I've been in that environment. I'm good. I'll watch from the TV. I guess from comparing the past few weeks, we've at least seen them win in an expectable sort of fashion versus who they're going against. I mean, literally thought they would beat the crap out of like the Texans and some of their previous opponents that have ended up being a little bit closer games than the Kingdom and myself would hope for. So it was good to see them win in a little bit of a more commanding type fashion. With that being said, though, I would have, it was still the Seahawks that aren't really the best of defenses. I mean, I spat off their stats going into last game, and Chiefs were able to move the ball pretty well. Although they did have kind of a pretty dormant second half. Like they came out in the first half, I think it was 17-3 at halftime. So they scored one more touchdown in the whole 30 extra minutes a game that we had. But Mahomes had a quality touchdown run in the fourth quarter. They came out strong. Defense played good. Held Kenneth Walker, who I think is going to be a pretty solid running back as time goes on in the NFL. Held him pretty well. The Seahawks offense was kind of gone for most of the game. So to me, as a team that's already knows they're in the playoffs, somewhat fighting for the number one seed, but a lot has to happen for that to get to that point. This was a good win and a good quality win that you kind of saw them take a step towards the right direction for a team that's going into the playoffs and should be gelling at a point, that they need to be, kind of like I was talking about last week, where we haven't seen them kind of hit their strides at the right moment, like as Chiefs fans have seen in the past, especially with like the Super Bowl run and stuff. But I mean, still some things to kind of walk away from that game, like WTF, like I would have liked to see them run the ball more in the second half. I'm kind of kicking a dead horse, as Richie said earlier in the show here, but
It's
they
flogging a dead horse.
You stole it, Rich. A flogging, he said.
Well, I heard the American version, so.
Dude,
But,
coach is American. What the heck's the matter with you? I'm the only.
Sorry.
I'm the only.
He's
Canadian
a northerner,
actually-
though.
Dude, it's me. There's me and a Dolphins guy. Like, we're the only two Canadian NFL personalities that I know of on YouTube that are Canadian.
Okay, flogging a dead horse. Sorry.
Yeah, you can use the N and make it more American. There you go.
Yeah. But either way, like, would have liked them see it close it out in a little bit better way with the run game. They were pretty successful running the ball in the first half, and kind of came out and tried to keep being cute and passing the ball. And it wasn't ever a worrisome game, but you would have liked them see it close it out in a more better fashion, especially as you're getting into like these January playoff games when you're going to be in colder environments and things like that. You're going to need to run the ball and kind of have long sustained drives to be able to close games out. So that's kind of what I would like to see them be doing, especially as a team that knows they're going into the playoffs. But I mean, either way, Patrick Mahomes is playing at a pretty unreal level right now. He's meshing with his guys and continuing to mesh, barring, I guess, Mike Sarah's wishful injury, which is pretty savage. He's in my opinion, it might be a little bit of a biased one, but I mean, I think he's the MVP of the NFL, especially when you kind of.
With Jalen going down, it's definitely his.
Well, I mean, you got to consider, like, I mean, the whole knock going into it was he was only good because of Tyreek and Kelsey, and Tyreek's gone, so he's not going to be putting up the same stats. And I mean, he's kind of, he needs to have like 270 yards to have like.
You know what it is? He's more boring now, but he's still efficient. He's still getting it done, but he's just boring now. Like he's
I mean, he's just
versus 30-yard pass. That's all.
Which but that's kind of the maturity that he needed to go to be a sustainable success.
I agree with that. I definitely
because and I said it earlier on. I'm like, like he's balling out by throwing bombs at Tyreek, but I mean, Tyreek's not always going to be as fast as he is. He's not. You're not always going to have that type of weapon.
Yeah, but the crazy thing is he's not slowing down much either.
Tyreek.
Yeah.
Oh,
like
I mean,
he's still like,
I mean, man, he is now, but those types of guys, and like I love Tyreek Hill, like he's a one of a kind player, and like I love his backstory because he really kind of got. I mean, he put himself in situations, but I mean, he had to dig himself out of a big ass hole to get where he is now.
He did. Did.
It helps that he runs at 4.29 or whatever the hell it is, but. Those types of players, they're going to fall off a cliff really hard, really fast.
Yeah, they are.
You know what?
It's
y'all were saying that in length, but if I recall that, you're clearly before he had his foot issues, he said Deion Sanders. I'm talking about generational speed here. Deion Sanders, Rod Woodson,
Dante Hall,
Green, Dante Hall. He said these guys still run 4.3 now in their 40s.
Yeah, but there's one thing about there's a difference between 4.3 straight line, 4.3 in a game, catching a route, making a dude miss, and housing a 70-yard slant.
Right.
So like, I mean, I played NAIA football. I played with guys that ran 4.2 40s, and you watch them on film, and you're like, what the hell is wrong with this dude? Like, why do you not catch that guy? Because there's a difference between a straight line testing speed and game speed. Tyreek has one of a kind game speed.
Acceleration. Yeah. That bad analogy. There you go.
But but Tyreek has that one of a kind game speed. I mean, like point proven. Watch the end of the Buffalo KC game last year when they gave him a 5-yard pitch and catch, and he house called it.
He housed it. In 2-man under coverage, by the way, in 2-man under.
Yeah, like I mean, and at the same time, and I'm sure this is more maybe my thought than national media. Kind of still on the Tyreek kick here, but when he left to go to Miami, I thought, well, like how much of it was Reed and the system and Mahomes more so than Tyreek, and he's in still an offense under a good offensive mind, but a different system. he's putting up the same numbers.
Still a
So
nuclear weapon. No matter
you
where
know
he
that
goes.
he's very much that guy, and he's putting up numbers with a QB that, in my opinion, is not very good at reading the field. He just is blessed with incredible talent around him.
2-4-2 guys. You got 2-4-2 guys.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
But yeah, I mean, like Matt's saying right now, like speed comes at a cost, and unfortunately, you hate to see it, but he's gonna just come into 1 year. I hope it's 4 or 5 years from now, but he's gonna go into a season where he's not that guy anymore.
Yeah, he goes from like a 4-2 to a 4-4, and he starts getting shocked when a young guy catches him. You know what I mean? Like, and that
was kind of the risk analysis that Casey had to make, and where their roster was situated with where they paid Mahomes and where they wanted to go. That like we got to sell this guy high and hope that he tapers off in 3 to 4 years, not 4 to 5, and we recoup as much as we can. So. You know, like all love for Tyreek. Like, dude's a baller, dude's a one of a kind talent. But I mean, I to me, it says a lot that KC, for what was supposed to be a down, not good year, especially with the offensive weapons. I think it says a lot for the talent of Patrick Mahomes for them to be right where they were last year, and what was supposed to be a retooling year.
I agree. I also think it shows that Andy Reid himself has matured as an offensive play caller,
absolutely,
and as an offensive coach. Because I mean, there's been years. I mean, even in Philly, when he was forced to run the ball a bit, when they ran the ball, you could tell that it was forced and uncomfortable.
Yeah. Well, and the thing I was about to say is, you know, he's certainly matured and made more effort to run the ball. They got an exciting guy in Pacheco, a 7th round draft pick, who's yeah. But at the same time, like I was just talking about, Pacheco's got 4.3 straight line testing speed.
Right.
Like, dude's fast, but like you watch him and you're like, this isn't the same. Like, he doesn't look like Reggie Bush, right?
Well,
like
that's the same thing with Valdez Scantling. They say Valdez Scantling was a 4.3, but he don't look like it on him either.
I know, that's like, it blew my mind when they signed him, and they were like, only 2 players last year hit a top speed of 23 or 22 miles per hour in a route, and it was Valdez Scantling and Tyreek, and I was like, what?
Right.
And I mean, but Valdez Scantling's also like 6'4", so it's a different. I mean, all those guys got to do is like reach their legs out there.
Yeah, just a stride lift. Him and Chris, you know, you can just get there and get themselves.
But my biggest I guess reservation going into the playoffs is that and especially you could watch the Bengals tape last year. I mean, Reed and the offensive mind doesn't always mesh at the point it needs to in pivotal moments in like the playoffs. So, you know, now they've been making an effort to run the ball, but you know, last year they would have beat the Bengals if they just made a point to continuously run the ball and maintain possession. They would have been in the Super Bowl again. Would they have won it? I don't know, but if they would have just ran the ball and not tried to do the Andy Reid Mahomes stuff, you know, it would have been a totally different game. So I hope that's where the maturity, I guess, hits its focal point, is once they get into the playoffs. You see them do that stuff. But like I said with the Seahawks game, that's kind of where my reservations are, and that they didn't do that in the second half against Seattle, which that's kind of where the game script needed to be, especially when you're in the mindset of you're going into the playoffs and you know you're going to be in these close games with your Bills and your Bengals, and you know, likely looking like the Dolphins first round. You're going to need to run the ball and have long possessions and keep the other offense off the field, because you know you can score points. So you need to just not have those wasteful possessions where you're going 3 and out because you try to throw 2 bubble screens and you know, run a halfback screen on 3rd and 8 just to you know, keep the ball moving. So you know,
how ironic would it be for y'all, because the way it stands right now, y'all will play the Dolphins in the first round.
Yep.
How ironic would it be for Tyreek to have to come back to KC to play Mahomes and them in the first round? That would be crazy.
It'd be it'd be pretty interesting. So yeah, no, that's kind of the way the matchup's looking, and I'm cool because honestly, if the Chiefs win this week and the Bills win, it doesn't matter. So I think see them rest their players the next week. Although I don't know, you kind of asked me, I'm like hit or miss on if teams should do that, but I do think it'd be ironic because it'd be interesting to see the defensive matchups because those guys went against them for.
Oh yeah.
Outside of McDuffie, it's all pretty familiar faces.
Yep.
I guess in Reed, all pretty familiar faces in the secondary. So.
Mm-hmm.
So, Alex, I think it would be important. And guys, I apologize. I do actually need to get going in a few minutes. Personally, Coach will be taking over the remaining of the show by jumping into our 3-point stance from our 49ers guest, as well as Rams Up, Mark from Rams Up, who Coach is going to be diving right into the Rams Chargers matchup. By the way, I also want to shout out Kyle Madsen, who's the 49ers 3-point stance guy for the Niners versus Raiders game. Kyle has been a wonderful resource for MHRT Network. He and I have been volleying messages back and forth for years now. I just wanted to thank Kyle for his time and for always being there for us when we've needed him to jump on for our 49ers content. And apparently Alex has left before I was going to throw to our quick KC Denver matchup. So I guess it'll just be me talking, which is wonderful. So I think Denver has got a pretty good shot at this because I think Evero is going to have his defense fired up after being utterly embarrassed by the Rams. And I think that the Denver defense has already shown that they can stack up pretty well against KC's offensive line. The biggest question is going to be with the change at the head coaching position. If a better game plan and, frankly, a swift kick in the rear for Russell Wilson will allow the Denver Broncos offense to show out and actually play well.
Who's the interim?
I can't remember the guy's name.
Who cares?
He's like, I'm going to be honest, the dude's like 70.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, exactly. Who cares?
Gary Rosberg.
Oh, okay.
So he's the interim head coach, and he's he's basically been with the team since week 3. He was doing basically clock management, game management stuff.
Oh, that guy. Okay, got it. Okay.
And I think he has
the guy that he signed after he started his coaching.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh man, talk about full circle
irony.
Fire. Yes, I agree. So ultimately, I think the Chiefs will win this one again. I really don't think the Broncos have a huge shot, although I do think that there may be like so there is a chance, like 1% sort of thing, where the Chiefs may be somewhat checked out because they've got things locked up. And the Broncos,
and you got to factor in the just the whole dumpster fire change of face. Like you just
it's
a wild card, man.
That's
the Charlie Kelly in the back of the van. They're like, "Why'd you cut the brakes? Wild card."
Yeah, and that's exactly it, right?
It's respond to that.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So ultimately, I think this is going to be a game for certain guys to try to play to not get fired next year. And I think that this is a game where the Chiefs will likely embarrass the Broncos again. Fair enough. I expect as much. And I'm willing to kind of just simply move onwards and upwards and look forward to the changes that are hopefully coming next year. Again, I've been saying this again for the third season in a row. MHRT Network is probably sick of me saying it. The Broncos need a better offensive line. We need proper defensive interior pressure on our defensive line from the nose tackle position. And yes, DJ Jones has been great. He's a spectacular player for us, but we need a guy to be right from the middle to kind of eat up the two blockers like most teams seek in the run defense side of things so that you can get the pressure. And
I heard Jerry Tillery is available.
He is a system player, but I don't think he's a system for us. Okay. And we'll leave it at that. But anyway, that's kind of my general thought on the Broncos. I think our secondary has got enough depth and stuff in it. I think we'll continue to pick up kind of ebb and flow pieces that are going to kind of come in and out. And the one thing I do think the Broncos have going for us is our secondary coaches, both this year and last year, have been excellent. And we've seen some real talent come through our secondary. And I mean, Patrick Surtain is ridiculous in terms of cornerback talent. And I think he's going to be
no Sauce Gardner, but
pardon me?
I said he's no Sauce Gardner, but you know.
Oh, you mean the guy that's holding guys every single play and then the NFL is saying he's doing wonderful?
Whoa.
No, I mean the guy with the Buffalo Wild Wings deal.
Yeah.
The sauce.
At the sauce.
Yeah, no, I've seen his game.
I'm joking. Patrick Surtain II is definitely a guy, so I can't deny that.
Not just a guy, the guy, a guy, the guy.
He is easily within the top 3 in my opinion in terms of cornerbacks in the NFL right now. And the question is whether or not he can sustain that for multiple years in a row, or whether or not we've seen kind of like the flash in the pan season. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
I think he came in.
His stats are dipping. It's because dudes aren't throwing at him. I mean, if I'm a defensive guy, that's why I want someone to play corner, so teams don't want to throw it.
Right. You only need to throw on one side of the field the whole night. So that works.
Right, but then the thing is that we have a young rookie who's starting to really play out on that other side. I mean, he's really starting to show up in Damari Mathis, and that's really what's making the Broncos.
4 straight PIs he got.
Yeah, that guy.
Look,
right.
He had a game. Some of those were. I mean, 2 of those were pretty egregious, but there was at least one of them that was not really an egregious penalty, and frankly would have otherwise. 2 of them would have otherwise gone uncalled. But that was an anomaly, if you will, for him. And I think the other thing to remember is that he got called for PI, and then on the very next play got an interception.
Oh yeah.
So I mean,
unfortunately, with the way they call that stuff
hold on,
now,
Alex. Let me finish. He's a rookie. The fact that a rookie is able to play with that much polish and literally screw up and have his 3rd PI call against him, and then come out the next play and then intercept a top tier caliber quarterback, I think says a lot, right? I think we can agree that says a lot about the caliber of a guy you're dealing with.
That's one thing a quarterback and a cornerback has to have: short memory.
Right. And I think he's shown legitimate ability to do that and play that way. Now, guys, I'm going to kind of love you and leave you with this. I am going to throw over to the 3-point stance from our friend, Kyle Madsen of the 49ers. And gentlemen, I thank you very much. This is a rare occasion where I can't stay right to the very, very end. But I want to thank all of you for showing up today. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us today on the Wild Wild West podcast. Coach, I'm going to leave it to you to show us out and play the outro and all the rest here. But in the meantime, this is the 3-point stance for the Las Vegas Raiders.
Hey, what's up, y'all? Kyle Madsen here from Candlestick Chronicles podcast and also from NinersWire.com, part of the USA Today Sports Media Group. And I've got 3 keys here for the 49ers to knock off the Raiders at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas on New Year's Day. Just before we dive in, the atmosphere is going to be insane. When the schedule came out, I have my mom's a big Niner fan, dad's a big Raider fan, and my in-laws both kind of peripherally root for the Raiders. And we were like, we got to get to Vegas on New Year's Day. And then just after doing a little research, looking up hotels, and then just kind of considering the environment, we decided to skip it. But going to be an unbelievable atmosphere. Wish I was going. Couple keys for the Niners. The one key is to just fall behind, apparently. That's, I guess, the key to beating the Raiders is to just be down by 10 or 17, and you'll pull out a dub at the end. No, I think for real, one of the things the Niners can do is attack the middle of the Raiders defense, both the defensive line and in the second level. I think what we've seen with George Kittle the last couple weeks, the way he's cooked the Seahawks and then did the same thing to the Commanders, that's something that the Niners are going to be able to exploit. And the Raiders just for years have been unable to really figure out that linebacker spot. And I think this year it's going to be a problem again, or at least in this game it's going to be a problem again for them. So it's George Kittle in the middle of the field. I think they can get Brandon Ayuk free in that spot. Christian McCaffrey, of course, has been awesome since he's been there. And I think the Niners, just between the hashes, are really going to wear them out, because I don't think Vegas has anybody that can hang with San Francisco in that area of the field. So the Niners have to get going there. And the other thing that does is it leads to the second key, is it stays away from Max Crosby. Like, he's in the Defensive Player of the Year conversation. I think he's going to kind of be there just every year he's in the league. He's a really good player, really high effort player. And if you don't try to take him out of the game, he's going to force his way into the game. So he's going to make a couple impact plays. I think you just have to limit staying out of third and long. I mean, he's not running to his side. And I think the Raiders are exploitable, like I said, in the middle of the defensive line and on the side opposite Max Crosby. So those are the two big things for the Niners offense. Defensively, they have to make Vegas one-dimensional. I think Derek Carr is decent, but if Josh Jacobs, is rolling, their offense becomes a lot tougher to stop. And whether that's with Hunter Renfrow or with Devontae Adams, of course, or with Foster Moreau is the only name I can come up with. But they're Darren Waller, there it is. Darren Waller, their other tight end, their star tight end. How do I get Foster Moreau before I get Darren Waller? That's weird. Anyways, I think that if Josh Jacobs gets going on the ground against this Niners defense, it puts the Niners defense in a spot that they haven't really been all year. They've been so good against the run that they've not really faced the adversity of having a team be two-dimensional on them. And I think that's part of why their defense has been so dominant. So if they can limit Josh Jacobs and get Derek Carr into second or third and long, I think that's where he's going to struggle and the Niners defense really feasts. So on the other hand, if Jacobs rolls and they're getting into second and third and short, now all of a sudden it's Renfrow, it's Waller, it's Devontae Adams. And the Niners had a really good plan for Devontae Adams in the playoffs last year when they played the Packers. But, I mean, this is a little bit different team. I think this Raiders team has better all-around weapons than that Packers team did. So I think that's going to be the biggest key for their defense. Get them into second and third and long, make Derek Carr beat you. And maybe he does. I think he's good enough to do that. But I think it's much tougher for him if the Niners aren't letting Jacobs also get loose and put them in advantageous spots. So those are my three keys. And I think that this is a game the Niners should win. It's a game they need. And I think that I don't want to say the Raiders are going to check out at some point here because they're still technically playing for a playoff spot. But the Niners need this game, I think maybe more than the Raiders do in terms of seeding, and I do think San Francisco pulls this one out. I think the Raiders score though. I think the Raiders are going to put some points up, and I think the Niners maybe win this one like 30-27 or something like that. So that's my prediction. Those are my keys. I've been Kyle Madsen.
I'd say, that's certainly a little outdated.
Yeah, a little bit. I guess he recorded that before the Derek Carr bitching, right?
Well, I mean, that did happen like 4 hours ago, so
right.
Fair enough. I mean, yeah, it's gonna. I mean, that's the thing, I guess, to me. Kind of like I said with the Broncos Chiefs matchup. You know, like it's going to be a bit of a wild card because they don't have Derek Carr, so you don't know how they're going to scheme. Like I imagine you're going to see some traditional McDaniels, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't Stidham in New England for?
He was. He got drafted there.
He played there, right? Like he played for McDaniels. So, so I imagine if you went back and watched the tape of Stidham when he started games for McDaniels, they're going to run a lot of that similar stuff. I mean, that could be feeding Josh Jacobs. That could not be. I don't know. But that certainly kind of throws a wrench in the, our preview going into the game, just because you don't know how big of a factor Devontae could be, because you don't know if Stidham's going to be able to give him the ball. There's just so many different factors with changing the QB at this point of the year that you just don't really know how successful the Raiders can be offensively. Plus, that's a 49ers defense I certainly would not want to face right now, because they are getting absolutely healthy and are they're peaking at the right moment. Besides being on their third quarterback, who was the dead last pick in this year's draft. So,
and I want to point out that you laughed at me when I picked Brock Purdy in my mock. You thought that was laughable.
Hey,
playing well, right? Playing well.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. Like, I know I'm kind of pivoting off of the Raiders 49ers game itself, but it's going to be interesting to see what they do, like how far the 49ers go in the playoffs, and then what they do in this offseason.
Yeah, and the point you made earlier, and I want to bring that back up, is that the idea of possibly Zach Wilson and Trey Lance kind of being jettisoned early before we really get to really see exactly what they can do is wild, because we're talking the number 2 and 3 picks of the draft a year ago.
The 49ers traded up for him too.
Exactly. So
there's my guy.
That thing, yeah.
I was getting worried.
Yeah,
he showed up late last week, and I thought maybe it was someone to save face because he was the real Chiefaholics guy, but he's back. He's back again. So now we know.
He's not locked up. He's good.
He's not locked up.
But he's good to go. He's good to go. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see what they do with the quarterback situation. I'm almost positive that Zach Wilson is pretty much done.
I think that's already been said.
Yeah,
but to me,
the 49ers thing, I think they're going to give Trey Lance another year because he hadn't really been on the field yet. He's been hurt. Jimmy G's the first year, and then he was hurt the first game of this year. So you got to give him one more year for sure.
Right. But you definitely have enough tape on Zach Wilson to know he's not going anywhere.
Exactly. And it's so funny. They were high on him coming out of the draft. I don't know why, but they were high on him.
It's because he can make stupid throws on routes on air. Like, who can't? It's because Zach Wilson peaked at the right time, and he had his COVID year and played nobody and put up dumb numbers. And then people watched him throw routes on air at his pro day, and they're like, "Oh, this guy's like a poor man's Patrick Mahomes. You have to get him."
They were even comparing him to Aaron Rodgers.
It blows my mind that consistently up to the point of the draft, it was always in that from high school to college to pre-draft rankings going into their final year. It was always Lawrence 1, Fields 2, and then out of nowhere, it was like, well, this Wilson guy might be 2, couldn't even maybe be 1, and Lance is up there too, and you're just like, what?
Right.
I don't, because I'm a big believer in a quarterback, especially a college quarterback success is highly dependent on where they go. It's not their talent. Like to me, if Patrick Mahomes gets drafted to, number 1 overall to the Bears in that situation,
it might not be a good situation.
I don't know if he's the same Patrick Mahomes that we see right now. You get Herbert on Jacksonville. You don't know. Or Miami.
While Urban Meyer's there, that might be a disaster.
You don't know if it's the same. If it just turns into just a total dumpster fire. So but I think it's pretty apparent that Zach Wilson is not a guy. But I think Trey Lance he's got the benefit of not having enough tape.
Yeah.
Game tape. Maybe, they know what they got in practice and off season and all that. And obviously liked him enough to give him the keys despite still being successful with Jimmy G. So to me, that's going to be a pretty interesting thing to watch. But I really, it's been proven time and time again you can make it to the Super Bowl and win a Super Bowl with having a pretty mediocre quarterback. So,
wasn't the last mediocre quarterback that won a Super Bowl? I think the last one was Joe Flacco, in my opinion. That was the Nick Foles thing was an anomaly.
But Joe Flacco also was an anomaly. He was in a contract year, went just went off, like
Right.
knocked out Peyton Manning and Tom Brady on their home turf and got paid.
Yeah.
But I mean, sticking with the Ravens, Trent Dilfer, he had no business winning a Super Bowl. But
in those conversations, what was always paramount? The defense. Now you don't have a top tier defense.
Rex Grossman got to the Super Bowl with the Monsters of Midway. So I mean,
the
it can be done.
Bears, they call them the Sugar Bears. They line up this sugar blitz all the time. But I don't think the way the defenses can play now, you can rely on that. I think you have to have a top tier quarterback, in my opinion. So I think.
Well, I mean, especially I mean, like you said, because I mean, I was going to make this comment earlier when we were talking about Mathis and Denver. I'm like PI calls now is like borderline holding, on the line. Like you can call it every play if you want, with how the rules written now. So, I mean, to me, it's going to be interesting to see, what the Raiders are trying to accomplish with benching Carr and how they're going to come out and play. Because I guess to me, as someone who is looking at that outside end with really no religious following of how the Raiders operate or our insider, followings on social media of rumblings, to me, it's, there was a talk about why the hell is our season the way it is. And McDaniel said, it's not my system. It's who you got me working with. Let me kind of take some pressure off and put in Stidham, who's a guy I worked with, and show you that my system can be productive. So to me, it's going to be kind of an interesting game because I feel like you're going to see a totally different type of play style from McDaniels and how he, schemes things with Derek Carr not being out there. That being said as well, like I've never been a very highly sold guy on McDaniels being successful outside of Boston.
Right.
So I kind of see a lot of the same stuff. So to me, this is a game that I think San Francisco should win pretty.
I think they're winning pretty handily. I mean, because I think they're laser focused and they're only a game out of a second seed. So I think they're locked in. If the Vikings slip at any point, they're like, we got the 2 seed.
And I mean, the Vikings very well could slip. They should have lost to the Colts.
Exactly. They should have lost 2 weeks in a row.
The only benefit of that was that game was at noon. So
there you go. Right, wasn't a bright light. Exactly.
That was a 3:30 game or something,
or 8 o'clock game.
He wasn't going to perform. But.
Nah, he wasn't going to. Nah, bright lights, big city does not him. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. So yeah, and they could slip. So they're trying to lock in the idea that they're going to play every game in San Francisco until you get to the title game, and that's if they play Philly. Because most likely,
to me, that's what even makes it more like interesting to watch. Because like I very well think that San Fran can make it to the Super Bowl with Brock Purdy just being remotely productive. Because the NFC is so like. For as stacked as the AFC, I mean, like it's ridiculous the fact that you say Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence are all in the same conference, right? Just like there's nobody like I mean, like you don't have to really go through. There's not this gauntlet of teams on the NFC side of the playoff tree to where like it's not unreasonable to think that San Fran. I mean, even Green Bay, if they got hot at the right time, Green Bay could make it. Just because
don't let them jokers sneak in because they sneak in, they could be.
I mean, like think about how many NFC teams are in the playoff hunt that if you put them in the AFC, they have they're out.
Shot.
The Panthers could be in.
All right, one game away.
I mean, that's all you need. That's all you gotta say when you compare the AFC to NFC in terms of difficulty.
I mean, I think we all realized that the NFC was going to be weaker this year. Just how weak what it's going to be, and the idea of Brock Purdy being a third string quarterback and Mr. Irrelevant making it to the Super Bowl is just wild to me. When you're going to have some elite tier quarterbacks going to make it from the AFC, whether it be a Mahomes, Burrow,
they have to.
They have to. They're all going to be in it. So somebody got to
Joe Burrow.
Right, I get that. I definitely get that. But I mean, overall, I believe the same thing you believe. I think the 49ers roll in this one. I think with the what was on the 3-point stance, I think that you can say for sure that they may shock you in the sense that they may score a few points. But I just because you don't know what to expect. I mean, a backup quarterback is always a wild card because you don't have any film on him. But
Yeah,
you know,
but I
I think
mean-
that's gonna last about 2 seconds, and they might
Yeah.
get a couple of
We said the
drives.
same thing about Nick Foles going into last week, and that was pretty. I
Right.
think second snap of the game, you're like,
Yeah,
oh
that's
yeah,
pretty
no,
bad.
Chargers
That's
got
pretty
this.
bad. Yeah,
I went
exactly.
into that game. I was like, I desperately need a 20 burger from Michael Pittman.
happening.
So yeah,
Not happening.
please,
Right.
God, but
Right.
no.
No. But
But
yeah,
you know, like even the dude said, I mean, Raiders are still technically fighting for a playoff chance, but I think seeing the moves the front office made in the last 12 hours of the day,
right.
I mean, I think
solidified.
it's pretty apparent that they're moving on to the next season. So, you know, it's a wild card game. It could be a trap game, but I just don't see really.
I think the 49ers too focused for that. I think they got
mean,
their eyes
yeah.
on the prize. I do. I really do. Based upon the way they play, they don't falter. They don't waver in anybody that they play at this moment. And I saw firsthand when they played the Chargers a few weeks ago.
And that's like it's crazy too. Like there's been a bunch of like rumblings on Chiefs Twitter of like, well, the Chiefs, this is the same 49ers team. The Chiefs put, you know, whatever points on. And I was like, yeah, but that was without. I mean, they were like half their defense was hurt.
Right.
That was Jimmy G was still out there. I mean, you just don't. It's a different team. Different team.
Oh, all the way, all the way. Okay. All right. So you want to give any thoughts about your game and coming up before we get into the 3-point stance with the Rams? And I want to thank Cal Matson again for giving us the 3-point stance for the 49ers game. I appreciate that. I know
when I was gone, Richie said since I was gone that the Broncos had a chance, but nah. I mean, like I said, kind of the same, I guess, same undertone with this Raiders 49ers game, and that it's going to be a bit of a wild card factor with them, you know, chopping shop and the coaching staff and you know, everyone taking accountability in the past couple of days of why the season is the way it went, and they might come out and certainly was a Broncos team that made it a game when it looked out of reach, you know, halfway into the second quarter. But you know, at the same time, like that, it's not the same Chiefs team that we saw 3 weeks ago, not the same Broncos team. So I think the Chiefs are just kind of hitting all strides at the right time. That you know, I don't think you see them. My hope is that they don't come out and put 28 points on the board in 12 minutes and then don't do anything. I hope you see them have kind of sustainable success throughout the whole game, while emphasizing kind of control of the clock and running the ball. But I mean, Broncos are still, even though the Baker Mayfield led, you know, a practice squad team put 51 points on them.
Squad.
I mean, bro, their number one receiver is Van Jefferson. Like,
I mean,
you put that man on, I mean, he's a respectable receiver, but you put him on any team, he's number 3 receiver at best. Like the fact that they put 51 points, I imagine that Andy Reid and company is watching that game film pretty intensively to figure out what the hell the Rams did to put some points and you know, not make it a close game. But you also have to factor in that the fact
game too. I think they feel like if we stink this bad, we can get Hackett out of here. One of these guys got to go. We can't get rid of Russell, so we got to get rid of Hackett. So let's just poop the bed and let's just hope
honestly,
that out of here.
I wouldn't blow my mind if that came out to be true, especially when you couple with like all the sideline videos of that game.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, you got to factor into the fact that like that last game was close because Mahomes threw 2 picks in very poor spots of the field when he was being lazy and making throws that you don't. And I said it after that game, but like he made throws that you don't see him make when he's playing a Bengals team or a Bills team.
Right.
And so I think given where we're at in the season, especially with the fact that like they still could technically get number 1 seed. I doubt it because I don't know who the Bills. I can't remember who the Bills play.
They got games. It's tough games. It's 2 division games, I believe. They got the Bengals this week.
Okay, so I mean, like,
the last game of the season.
I think so because, like I said, I mean, if the Bills win this, if the Bills and Chiefs win, there's, I mean, next week means nothing in terms of seeding, but I mean, this is still very much a must-win game. in terms of where KC's currently postured and where they could be going into the postseason. So, I don't think you see them rest on their laurels at all. So
agreed.
I expect it to be a pretty decent Chiefs victory. I just hope it's one that's sustainable, through the whole 4 quarters and not one half of football, kind of like we've seen them play the past 4 to 5 weeks. But I'm not denying the Broncos have a good defense, but things have been exposed. The one interesting factor to me is that Randy Gregory, I believe, is supposed to be playing. That's the guy that they paid some money to come replace Bradley Chubb. But at the same time, we've been seeing the Chiefs offense and the offensive line more specifically making adjustments to be more efficient. So, you also have to kind of factor in that they've not been playing the most fearful type pass rushing groups, but they've at least, like I said, been hitting their strides at the right moment. So I think, I just don't really see how KC loses unless Mahomes goes out and just throws a dud and throws 4 picks and, they don't run the ball and everything else. So I predict a KC win.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with that. Like I said, just don't get complacent. The word is complacency. The word of the day for y'all is complacency.
Like you said with the 49ers, there's still too much to ride for in terms of KC and going into the playoffs for them to kind of sit on their hands for this game. So,
yep. All right, so let's forward over to the 3 Point Stands from the Rams Up podcast. We've seen him for a few weeks now. Our good buddy.
Sure, he's gonna be riding high after last week.
Right. So we'll get his takes on the 3 Point Stands for the Chargers Rams game, and it's gonna be a home game for the Chargers and Rams this week. So we'll get his take on the Rams Chargers game, and we'll be back with our feedback.
Hey everybody, Mark from Rams Up here. You can reach us on YouTube. Our YouTube handle is at LA Rams Up, and our podcast, LA Rams Up Podcast, part of the Pigskin Podcast Network. Rams coming off a big win against the Broncos. I thought it was going to be low scoring, but everything went their way. They dominated from start to finish. The Chargers this coming week, that's a different beast for this Rams team, and it's going to be a big challenge. I'll try to give you the 3 things I think they need to do to come away with a victory. The first thing they need to do is run the ball, especially on the early downs. That was what they did against the Broncos. Cam Akers got it rolling. This offensive line finally getting some consistency, some of the same guys up there a couple weeks in a row, although Ode Abushi has been suspended for his little fisticuffs with Randy Gregory after the game. So this Charger defense, I think, is vulnerable against the run. The Rams are going to have to lean on the run on the early downs and be successful with a new guy up front, whoever's replacing Abushi, and see if we can get Cam Akers rolling again. We can't afford to get behind the chains of this offensive line. In the Bronco game, we pounded the ball pretty good on first and second down, and that was one of the reasons we were so successful. The second thing I'm concerned about against the Chargers continues to be our defensive line. We did not have to worry about the running game of the Broncos after a few series. We got out to such a good lead there, but we're still missing 3 of our top 4 defensive linemen: Aaron Donald, Ashawn Robinson, Marquise Copeland. They're all done. So we got a bunch of new guys up there: Bobby Brown, Ernest Brown IV, Greg Gaines, probably our best defensive lineman at this point, Jonah Williams, a lot of guys no one's ever heard of. And it's going to be a bigger challenge to slow down this Chargers game because we're not going to blow them out and force them to start throwing the ball. Our defensive line is going to have to hold up against the run. And the third thing we're going to have to do is something we've been doing all year pretty well, is bend but don't break. And by that I mean we're going to give up a lot of yards in between the 20s. That's what we've been doing all year, but we've been very tough in the red zone, and we're going to have to continue to do that, be successful in the red zone against this Chargers offense. I'm talking about our defense here. We're going to have to force Charger field goals. as much as possible, keep the game a little bit low scoring. So that's something we've been pretty good at all year, getting tough in the red zone and forcing teams to kick field goals. So those are the three things, kind of cliche: run the ball, stop the run, and red zone defense. Those are the three things. And I should also mention one thing in the Rams' favor in this game. Brandon Staley was the Rams' defensive coordinator, and a very good one. And maybe Sean McVay has a little bit of an edge because of that, designing plays that can beat a Brandon Staley coached defense. That's all I got. My prediction, I always go with the Rams, and I'm going to predict the Rams in this one, something like 27-23 Rams, and that's going to be dependent on the Rams forcing those field goals I talked about.
All right, I want to thank Mark again from Rams Up Podcast for that interesting take on the Chargers and Rams game. So, I mean, he had good points. You know, if they can execute all three phases of that, then yeah, they got a great shot. But I will say that based upon now, I will say too, Odell Boucher is going to play, I believe, because I think him and Randy Gregory's suspension got lifted. I think they appealed it and they rescinded it. So he is going to play. He's a former Charger, actually. Also, he was our guard last year before Zion Johnson got there. So we have some familiarity there with him. But overall, I mean, you know, I think that the defense is yes, they've been playing much better against the run in the last 4 to 5 weeks than they have previously. So bless you, Alex. I think overall that I think they're going to see a different defense. A lot better effort. A lot more tenacity from the defense in the last few weeks. I think they're going to be surprised by that based upon what they've seen on film all season. So I think that's a plus for us. Whether or not Jalen Ramsey is going to travel with Keenan Allen is a big interesting one. We all have seen that Jalen Ramsey hasn't been the normal Jalen Ramsey that we're accustomed to. So that'll be an interesting matchup. But if he does feature Keenan, Mike Williams should have a good day. I think that he should be targeted early and often and get him involved as being on that second or third corner. And overall, I mean, I've been screaming it for weeks. If we can figure out a way, especially with their banged up defensive line, to run the ball in any succession and stick with it, I think that bodes well for us as well. So we get the same defensive effort from that we begin the last 4 weeks, and we figure out our offense and for it to be balanced one and be more inventive and more creative play call wise, and start to work on that in the next 2 weeks and kind of leading into the playoffs because we're already in it now. Then I think that's what we need to work on. I think Alex kind of alluded to that as well, is that, yes, you should win this game. You should be focused on winning this game, but you also should be focusing on working things and fine-tuning things to get yourself ready for the playoff run. So I think that's what we need to work on from that perspective, is to fine-tune things, get things moving in the right direction, and build confidence in the idea that you can do these things going into the playoffs. And then from that perspective, I think if we do that from our perspective, I think we win.
Yeah, no, I would tend to agree with that. I think you kind of said it, like they need to focus on running the ball more. And to me, at this stage of the season, for a team that knows they're in the playoffs, that's what you need to go into games focusing on, because that's what you're going to need to do in these later January games, especially if you're traveling out to Kansas City or Buffalo or Cincinnati.
All those games are going to be cold. There's not going to be no warm games involved in there.
So, I mean, that's the key, I guess, key to success really for any team that knows they're going into the playoffs, is you need to establish your run game and establish the ability to manage and win a game in a sustainable fashion through the run. I guess to me, one interesting thing is, and I didn't invest in him in fantasy at all this year, so I don't really know the overall success of Eckler, stat wise, but I feel like they haven't really used him as much as they have, the past couple years. And maybe that was to some degree by design, with the mindset of getting into late December, early January, and he's not, beat up from having 400 touches. Right. And so maybe, at this stage, now that they know they've locked it in, you see them try to use him a bit more. But at the same time, I kind of would kind of dance around on eggshells with that approach because you don't
hedge
want
my
to get
bet.
them hurt, and then you're stuck
Yeah,
with
I hedge my
Stoner
bet.
or Kelly or
especially we're having 3-4 running backs in the stable already. Let them guys get some touches. Let Isaiah Spiller run a little bit. Let Sony Michel run a little bit. Let Josh Kelly be the feature back. He's been running well. The times we've run it successfully in between the tackles. Josh Kelly's been a guy. So I think that you feature him more so and let Austin be the more receiving target, especially if you're already up and kind of got the game in hand and kind of, like you said, hedge your bet with his touches. From a perspective of you trying to, you have him fresh for the playoffs. Because I think, because the argument was, and this is why I feel like we drafted Spiller, is because they didn't know exactly what they had in Kelly, and Kelly hadn't shown him much yet outside of fumbling, to this year. Yeah. So they wanted to get a guy that can spell Eckler in a sense where he's not, like you said, not banged up midway through the season because he just has to do so much. He's too much of a workhorse. As good as he is, strong as he is, he's still 200 pounds on a good day. Mm-hmm. So, you have to honestly, truly realize that taking a 17, 18-week pounding on that frame is not going to bode well for you if you're featured and you're targeted a lot. So I think that's one thing that they've done well, and they kept him healthy. And we've had the season with injuries. He's been one bright spot. He hadn't got hurt, knock on wood, that he doesn't. Yeah. So I think that we keep him healthy and we work on the things we need to work on and start fine tuning some things, and then we'll be right as rain come playoff.
To me at this stage, because I don't know, I don't think the Chargers can really through winning out or anything could really move up their playoff ranking, right?
We're a game behind the Ravens, so that would be the fifth seed.
Yeah. So yeah. To me, I think the biggest focus is like I said, make sure your scheme's right for what you would need to do, and make sure that you leave every game healthier than you were entering. Because they've gotten their guys back to some degree, mostly talking about Allen and Williams defense. Obviously, you don't have J.C. Jackson, but you got a healthy Derwin, and I don't think will they get Bosa back for the playoffs, or
I think definitely the playoffs. They're jostling with the idea of activating him this week, but I think maybe next week he gets some reps, in spot duty, next week, so he kind of be fresh for the playoffs. Kind of get his game and timing back down, But yeah, I think he definitely will be back for the playoffs for sure. And I think that there's outside chance we might get Rashad Slater back as well at left tackle. So,
to me, that's the biggest thing is things are clicking at the right levels in terms of who's coming back. So you want to make sure you keep that narrative going in the right direction, regardless of a win or loss. But at the same time, I just think the Chargers are too good to, regardless of really how they come out, lose to a team like the Rams, especially without an Aaron Donald, without really Cooper Kupp, without a lot of people.
A lot of people, right. Like the O-line banged up, so it's definitely a game you should win, but you have to take care of business.
Yeah. That's kind of the story with any game in the NFL. You can't go out and Chiefs lost to the Colts, so
right.
But to me, that's the biggest thing for the Chargers is just to make sure that they leave that game with a healthy Keenan Allen, a healthy Mike Williams, a healthy Eckler, and not losing anybody in the equation. And things are just like I said, 49ers are getting hot at the right time. Chargers are too, and part of that has been Herbert's kind of been hot all year, but he's been hot with, the third and fourth guy that was on the receiving totem pole.
And 6.
So now he's getting his guys back. So, things are looking up for them. And to me, that's got to be the biggest factor is just to make sure that those guys are there come whatever matchup they have, wild card round of the playoffs. So.
I definitely agree. So yeah, I think we're on the same sheet of music. So any final thoughts before we wrap it up?
No, man, just kind of at this stage, I'm sure you feel the same way since we're kind of already both locked into the playoffs. I'm just ready to get the regular season over with,
and healthy,
and healthy, and see where the chips fall, and get into the playoffs, and know that Richie and Captain Jack can't think about the same thing. So
it's funny they let the two guys that still in the playoffs on the
the
chat.
two guys that aren't in the playoffs didn't want to participate in the full brunt of the show today. But
There you go.
I'm playing. But
Yeah, we do it joking, but yeah.
No,
But,
I mean that's kind of my final thought. Yeah, just hope both of our teams go into whatever matchup we got first string through the playoffs healthy, and just finish out the season in a good way and on to the playoffs.
That's it. All right, so that's gonna wrap the show up for us this week. We'll be back next week as always, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. As always, the Wild West podcast each and every Wednesday, 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. So until then, where the West Side is the best side, we'll see you next week. That's Alex Givens. I'm Coach Defense. We'll see you next week.